Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Nurlalina Fitriani from 5th semester of English Education Program in Hamzanwadi University. In this video, I will explain to you about my thesis proposal under the title The Effectiveness of Using Readable Application to Enhance the Reading Skills Students in Hamzanwadi University. Let's begin from chapter 1 introduction. There are 5 points. The first is background of study. The second is focus of study. The third is statement of the problem. The fourth is purpose of the study. And the fifth is significance of study. The first one is background of study. According to Mariani, 2016, in learning a language, especially English as a foreign language in Indonesia, there are 4 skills to be mastered. They are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. According to Arwita Putri, 2023, reading skills are very important. In the world of education, reading skills become very important. The students have to master that skill to continue their education. And according to Nafilatul Rahmah 2021, the development of learning media changed along with technological developments. It means that technological developments greatly influence the development of the learning process. Based on my thesis proposal, that is used readable application. This determines that technological development very influence of the learning media. Next to the point is focus of study. The study focus on the effectiveness of readable application in improving students' reading skill at Hamzanwadi University. Next, statement of the problem. In this thesis proposal, there are 2 statements. The first is, can readable application improve students' reading skill? The second is, to what extent is the influence of readable application in improving students' reading skill? And the fourth point is the purpose of the study. In this proposal, there are 2 purposes of the study. The first is to know whether readable application can improve students' reading skill. And the second is to know how effective readable application on students' reading skill. And the last point of the chapter 1 is significance of study. The first, based on theoretically, this research has important theoretically significance in the context of developing theories of digital literacy and technology-based learning. Based on practically, this result of this research can provide valuable information regarding whether the readable application is effective in improving students' reading skill. We move to chapter 2 about review of literature. There are 4 points in this chapter. The first is reading skill, the second is readable application, and the third is relevant study, and the last is theoretical framework. The first one is reading skill. Reading skill is an important aspect of language development, which includes various sub-skills that aim to improve the learner's overall ability to understand and interpret written text. According to Gray, 2009, emphasized that effective reading requires the interaction of various cognitive processes such as word recognition, synthetic parsing, and discourse analysis and critical thinking or ensure students can engage meaningfully with text in different contexts. The second about readable application. Definition of readable application or read English stories. This research uses a digital application called Readable, Read English Stories. Since its launch on May 31, 2019, the software has accumulated more than 10,000 Windows PC downloads and 500,000 Android downloads on Play Store. Readable Read English Stories is an education application has been proven to be effective in improving reading skills. An readable application also provides various features that can be accessed. The first is fiction stories and new with audio. The second is easy to read. All stories are categorized in A1, A2, B1, and B2 levels, and vary features on the readable application. And the third point on chapter 2 is relevant study. A relevant study is required to see what previous analyses have done and how they are relevant to the examination. The study, the effectiveness of using readable application to enhance the 10th grade students' English reading skill narrative text in senior high school was carried out by Yanwar et al. In 2023. Okay, the last point in this chapter is theoretical framework. Reading skill is very important for students. In addition, reading helps students develop their thinking skills because it requires them to read text, and there are applications available to help them become better at reading. That is the readable application, which can be used to perfect their reading skills. Okay, let's move to chapter 3 about methodology of research. In this chapter, there are 5 points. The first is research design, setting of the problem, next, population and sample, data collection, and the last is analyzing data. Okay, the first one is research design. This research employs a quasi-experimental design to investigate the effectiveness of using a readable application in improving students' reading skill. The design involves pre-test and post-test measurements with an experimental group and a control group. The experimental group will use the readable application, while the control group will continue with the conventional reading method by comparing the performance of both groups before and after the intervention. This research will measure the impact of readable application on students' reading skill. The second is setting of the research. This research employs a quasi-experimental design to investigate the effectiveness of using a readable application in improving students' reading skill. The third point is about population and sample. The population of this study consists of students enrolled in the English Language and Education program at Hamzan Wadi University during the academic year 2024-2025. And the sample, a total of 60 students will be selected from the population. The sample will be divided into two groups, an experimental group, 30 students that will use the readable application, and a control group, 30 students that will continue with traditional reading method. Okay, next about data collection. Identification of variables. The first is independent variable, the use of the readable application, and the second dependent variable, students' reading skills, which will be measured through their reading comprehension and fluency. And about definition of variable. The first variable is reading skills. This refers to students' ability to comprehend, interpret, and analyze written text. It includes both speed or fluency and accuracy or comprehension. The second variable is about reading a readable application, a digital platform of application designed to improve reading skills by providing readable and interactive context that promotes comprehension and fluency. And next about instrument of the study. The instrument used for data collection will be a reading comprehension test and a reading fluency assessment. The test will consist of multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and reading passage to evaluate comprehension and fluency. The pre-test will be administered before the intervention, and the post-test will be given after the intervention. Additionally, students' interaction with the readable application will be tracked using built-in application analytics to measure engagement levels. And about technique of collecting data. Pre-test and post-test. The first is pre-test and post-test. The pre-test will assess the students' reading skills before they use the readable application, while the post-test will evaluate any improvements after using the application for a set period. Both tests will be administered under similar conditions to ensure consistency. And observation and interviews. Qualitative data will be collected through observation of students' interactions with the readable application and interviews with both students and instruction. This will provide insights into the usability of application and any perceived improvements in reading skill. Okay. The fifth point in this chapter 3 is analyzing data. The first is about descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics will be used to summarize and describe the data. Measures such as the mean, standard deviation, and frequency distributions will be calculated to provide an overview of students' reading skills before and after the intervention. This will allow us to observe general trends in the data. The second point is about statistics required for testing hypothesis. To test the hypothesis, inferential statistics will be applied. The t-test for independent samples will be used to compare the reading scores of the experimental group and the control group before and after the intervention. This will help determine if there is a statistically significant differences in reading skills between the two groups due to the use of readable application. And next, about testing hypothesis. The main hypothesis of this study is H null or null hypothesis. There is no significant difference in the reading skills of students before and after using readable application. And the second main hypothesis is H1 alternative hypothesis. There is a significant improvement in the reading skills of students after using the readable application. The t-test will be performed to analyze whether the difference in the reading scores between the pre-test and post-test is significant. If the p-value is less than 5, the null hypothesis will be rejected, indicating that the readable application has a positive effect on students' reading skill. Maybe that's all from me. And the last essay. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.